Some people assume catch pans are there to catch oil as it drips from gearboxes, hence the name. Well, in this case the catch pan is doing its job, so what's the problem? The problem is, the job of the catch pan is not to normalize oil leaks. Catch pans are there to protect the product zones if ever there was an oil leak. We should think of them as worst case scenario pans. Oil leaks do happen, that's normal. But when they happen, they need to be fixed, which is the normal thing to do. Think of them as a safety device, like a life jacket. It's there when you need it, not to be used every day. The catch pan has another function. What is it? It helps to identify leaks. Of course, we could rely on people doing acrobatics under equipment to inspect each gearbox. It's much easier to look in the catch pan. If it's clean and dry, there's no leak. If there's oil in the pan, you need to have a closer look at the gearbox or call maintenance. The other thing that happens when there are oily gearboxes and oily catch pans all over the plant is sooner or later, someone will find a catch pan that isn't doing its job. Catch pans don't hold oil forever. Eventually, oil will end up under the catch pan and fall onto the food beneath. Now let's play a little game. I'll show you 8 gearboxes and you'll have to make 2 groups. What's the best factor to separate them? You can pause the video now if you need a bit more time and press play when you are ready to move on. There are many possible answers. Some have catch pans, others don't. Some are above open products, others are not. I'll tell you my favorite answer. Some gearboxes are oily and crummy, yet others are clean and dry. If you shone a flashlight on them, the first group would reflect the light. They're glossy. The finish on a clear gearbox appears flat. What does that have to do with food safety? Food isn't supposed to be in contact with motors or gearboxes. The grime won't be jumping in the food. Bugs don't feed on that. Pathogenic microbes don't grow on it either. So what's the big deal if they're dirty? The answer is, it's much easier to inspect clean equipment than dirty equipment. Dirt and soil hide things. Clean equipment makes everything visible. Think of how much easier it is to hide in a forest than it is to hide in an open field. The best way to know if the gearbox is oily due to leaks or because the equipment was not cleaned after maintenance is to first clean it. Let it run for a day or 2. Then come back and have a look. If it's still clean and dry, then we can assume someone did a sloppy job. It's clean now, so we'll make sure they clean after themselves next time. If the gearbox is oily, then it was leaking, it's still leaking, and it needs some attention by maintenance now. The last thing we need to discuss is who should be doing the cleanup. How does that fit in the periodic cleaning program? Well, quite frankly, it doesn't. Sanitation's job is to remove normal food accumulations. Their cleaning routines are meant to remove potato debris, blueberry juice, flour, or whatever you're cooking. They can rinse off potato debris or blueberry juice with water. They can vacuum flour, but they can't rinse or vacuum gear oil. For gear oil, you need hot water, a chemical, and elbow grease. And not just any kind of chemical, you need a degreaser. Foaming a line is not the right way to clean gear oil. Not the right chemical, not meant for that. So who should be responsible for keeping gearboxes and catch pans clean? Should we have mechanics clean up after themselves? Or should we let them spill oil all over the place and call the babysitters to clean up the mess? We know that whenever someone is responsible for cleaning up after themselves, they work clean in the first place. Sounds reasonable, doesn't it? I might not be very popular with some maintenance departments, especially those that have had their bad behavior indulged for years. Let's lighten their load a little bit. Imagine the best case scenario. Mechanics still don't like cleaning, so they're careful not to spill oil when they work. Gearboxes are kept clean. Whenever one starts seeping or leaking, they're fixed right away. In that scenario, mechanics would be happy to have help from operators to identify leaking gearboxes. Early detection relies on regular equipment condition inspection. Mechanics can't look at every gearbox every day. They have other fish to fry. Operators are on the line all the time while the plant is running. We already said spotting oil in a catch pan is as easy as riding a bike with 4 wheels. If operators keep an eye open and tell maintenance right away, that helps nip the leaks in the bud. Leaks never become a big problem, and mechanics can focus on more important things, like lunch.